Hello, welcome.
Hey-o!
Welcome to another Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from quality podcast content. We are here today with a guest co-host, Mr. The Song of My People, Blaine Upton, a fellow Carolinian down from the South. And our guest tonight is Justin Jones. And far as I know, up to this point, because I hadn't been corrected, brother of Jessica Jones. What's up, Justin? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. How's it feel to be the younger brother of a famous, private investigator?
Great, I guess. Up until this moment, know who that was.
Oh, really? See, you're now you just don't want to talk about her on the podcast, and that's fine. I get it. This is your podcast. She's famous and gets all the attention. I see how it is. Blaine, what's up, Holmes?
What's going on, man? It's been a long time. Feel like it's been probably a couple of months since I've seen you. So it's good to see that beard and still on the face, and your Facebook lives of you smoking meat on 4th of July. That was pretty good. So been appreciating that content. I needed that.
I like to hop on there and act like a fool every now and again for sure.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I want to let you know, Alex still is salty about how we messed with him on the opening of your episode. He still is salty about that. I mean,
that
he
was perfect.
Yes, it was. It worked out great. It looks like you're on vacation there, Blaine. What's up with that?
Yeah, man. Finally got a little breakaway. Headed down to Folly Beach. Figured what better time to come on here than when I'm completely relaxed and having a good time. So went a line a couple times down here chasing redfish and stuff like that. But just good to get away from everything. Ignore the emails. Ignore the phone calls and get away from it all, man. I've needed it for a while.
Well, I mean, it's just like having Alex on the podcast right now, since your audio's a little crackly. But you're like 2.5 of Alex's height, so and you don't have a good raspy voice like he does, but we'll roll with it. Justin, buddy, how are you today?
Good, man. I just got back to the house a little while ago. Went out to the river, went flipping today up in the Ocklawaha. So I'm in Central Florida. And the Ocklawaha feeds off of a lake called Lake Griffin over by me. We went up there and caught about 60 fish today. No big ones, but had a good day.
Is that where Peter's from?
Who the hell is Peter?
Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
The Family Man.
Oh Lord. Doesn't know who Jessica Jones is. Doesn't know who Peter Griffin is.
I know who Peter is, but you just expect me to know who he is off the bat.
You just said you knew who he was, and then
Peter's vast, though. You said Peter, and there's a lot of people in the world.
So did you hook in anything today?
I didn't get any big bites, but a buddy of mine, Joseph, that I fished with, also who works for me, he lost two. I'd say between the 7 and 9 pound range, but my biggest fish I caught today was about 4 and some change. And like I said, we caught a bunch of small ones, but had a good day nonetheless. I mean,
Joseph has got to be the absolute king of losing big fish. I think he has lost more big fish in front of me and heard about than about anybody I know.
Dude, you remember that stretch we went and flipped the day that my live well broke in my bullet?
Correct, and we almost sank.
So we started on that stretch. Little short story. We're on Griffin I had a yellow and red 20XR, and we're going across the lake, sit down, start flipping a stretch, and my automatic bilge pump kicks on, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Couldn't figure it out. I stripped into my boxers, get in the water, make sure there's no hole in the bottom of my boat. Lo and behold, my live well is cracked down the center, and you couldn't see it. So it just, bullets just have a resurge, so it just keeps putting new water in there, and it's supposed to dump out. Well, it was just pumping water over and over and over. Me and Blaine are going down in the middle of the lake anyways. but we got that figured out in the middle of a tournament too. Nonetheless.
Yeah, that was the worst part. It was like, do we take out or is it not bad enough?
Yeah.
No, you got to keep fishing. If
We-
the boat sinks, you got insurance, but you got to keep fishing in tournament situation.
No
we
doubt.
dealt with that. But we went back to that same stretch today. And about a quarter of the way down, Joseph, I was retying some stuff. He takes the trolling motor. He makes one flip into the mat, and I'm watching him, and the mat rolls. It picks up. And I'm like, oh, boy. And he sets the hook on it. Line starts singing.
Song of my people.
Fish is 10 miles underneath the boat. Comes up on the other side of the boat. Did you just wait until, you thought it was out of the mat? Or he's like, I thought I got bit, but I didn't know. And I'm like, oh, my Lord. 7 pounds. And then the next one he lost, I couldn't blame him. We get up. The Aquaha has a bunch of, dollar-sized pads, little patches, maybe about yay big around, and they're isolated. So we pitch jigs to them, and it's kind of a current fit. It's got current because it's dammed. So they have the dam open just a little bit. So you kind of got a lot going on. You're pitching those isolated pads. You know how pads are when you're flipping them. They're already a pain. He flipped in a little group, and I watched the pad shake, and his line starts swimming sideways, and he sets the hook, and it gets all up in the pads. And she came up to the top. Her mouth was wide open, a big one. And all of a sudden, you watch this jig go flying out of her mouth. So, meanwhile, I'm over here begging for a big bite, and I can't get one.
It's always the guy that gets the big bite.
Yeah.
That y'all's first story, if y'all would have sunk, Blaine's tall enough. Hell, he'd have still been ankle deep is all.
Yeah, holding the boat up.
My wife's favorite insult is "you Gumby looking motherfucker." So,
well, it makes sense. You're wearing a green shirt today too.
I'll be honest. So I knew Blaine's wife before I knew him, and he came here from South Carolina, and she had made a post about somebody taking him fishing, and that's how I met Blaine, because Joseph hooked us up, and he's like, "Well, go with Justin." So I meet Blaine for the first time ever at my house at like 5:30 in the morning, and I see him, and that's the first thing I said. I love him to death. I was like, "That goofy motherfucker."
Well, hey, Blaine told the story on our podcast, but you got to listen to the KBN version of the story of how goofy he is when he's got like an 8-pound bass and he's keeps kicking it out the damn kayak.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't define his goofiness, then I don't know what else will.
Got to watch him catch his first giant flipping. So
y'all are talking about the same fish. So
yeah.
Oh, well, you didn't watch me catch the one on Santee. The one on Santee is the one he's talking about.
I watched you catch an 8-pounder in the river, though.
Yep.
Yeah, we get the first trip. First day I ever met Blaine. We get up, we go to the Withlacoochee, which is probably about 30 minutes from me. We get there and we start fishing. He fishes that godforsaken Lake Murray all the time. So we're literally matted out hydrilla, mats, hyacinths, pennywort, all that stuff, and he's wanting to throw a fluke. He's throwing a fluke out in the middle, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep flipping. I said, watch, it'll happen. So my first bite, probably about an hour and a half into our day, somewhere around there, 2 hours maybe. My first real bite, I set the hook on it, stuck in hydrilla. You couldn't see it. He's digging for it, and I'm like, man, I hope it's still on there. And all of a sudden, he's huge, and the fish comes out of the mat, swings, goes in the boat, and it's 7-pounder somewhere around there. And after that, I don't think the fluke ever got picked up again.
No, I literally held one rod the rest of the day.
And
one rod.
on to catch 34 and some change his trip to Florida. So to actually go bass fishing. So it was
I need to go down there specifically to do it.
Yeah.
You're in Central Florida, What town or city are you near in that Central Florida for people that don't know where the Duque River and Lake Griffin is?
I would say the closest thing to me that people might know is Ocala. That's about 30 minutes from me. Tampa, Orlando is about an hour and a half from me. So um, those are probably the closest things. I'm in Inverness, which is a little no-name country bumpkin, nothing town.
I
He's
bet it
30
ain't as
minutes
country.
from he's 30 minutes from the kayak capital of the United States, though, Crystal River, which that's where all the springs are, man. That's why everybody likes to go kayaking up there. But the fishing sucks.
I bet your country bumpkin town ain't no as country bumpkin as my town.
Probably not. Not in South.
McBee, yes.
McBee.
About 800 people, one stoplight. Used to be the speed trap of America for about 25 years running. Yeah. Hey, it's so damn country that my first period class my senior year was I went and worked at the fish hatchery.
That's country as all get out right there. That's funny.
It sure is. It sure is. Well, man, what has brought you to where we are right now with you sitting on this terrible podcast with ugly ass Blaine Upton and myself? What has brought you here? What is your first fishing journey up to this point?
I mean, from the start.
You can start wherever you want because nobody know the truths or the facts, so you can make shit up. I mean, it don't matter.
I mean, I started fishing when I was really, really young. I'd say about 5. Obviously, you take that it's worth. You think you're fishing, but you ain't really doing anything. You're
learning.
Yeah. So I kind of grew up in and out of my parents' household. So my grandfather pretty much raised me when I was younger, and then indefinite when I was 10. And I lucked out. My grandfather owned a property right on the lake here that I live about 5 minutes from. So that was kind of my getaway. Even when I was younger, when I went to my grandpa's, I was on the water, whether it was bank fishing or I had a little canoe. And then I got my first John boat, with a 9.9 on it, and it was game over. I was the shit. I had anything that anybody ever wanted, and I didn't even have a trolling motor. We used to, I still remember it like it was yesterday. I turned my carburetor like where it would almost flood out to where that thing would like barely idle. And we'd leave it in gear, and we'd go down these pad lines with my motor in gear, throwing frogs, just letting it idle because I didn't have a trolling motor. So the fact of where I am now today, obviously I've owned 60 plus boats. Yeah.
Look, y'all. When you hear somebody say that, the first thing pops into your mind should be you can't fuck with money.
Yeah.
No, hey, dude, and he's my age. That's the bad part. I mean, he's 26, 27 years old. I mean, he wears them like he does outfits, man. He gets used to one, and before I know it, it's like, hey, man, I'm selling it. Anybody might want it? And I'm like, what?
Little fact about me, I like having different stuff, and I kind of figured out a little niche when I was about 15 that I could buy something, fix it, make it better, and resell it and make money. Well, little did I know that would turn into like one of my biggest hobbies ever. So, like I said, the boat's into my garage that I bought about a month ago is boat number 68. It's a Ranger Z21. And I've owned everything under the sun. I've owned, the only thing I haven't owned is an Allison. But I've owned some really junky boats to, some of the nicest boats, that you can go and buy. But
what's the one boat out of all those brands you bought? Bass boats now, and it can be a metal hull, it can be fiberglass. What's the one damn boat you will never buy and that you would recommend nobody ever buy?
An Express. I had an Express SW20, and it was hands down the worst boat I've.
What made it that you didn't like it?
Well, it's a rough riding boat, one. And two, I guess I'm biased because aluminum boats are like kites when it's windy.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't track straight. You can't do anything. You know, if there's 5 mile an hour wind, your front of your boat's here and the back of your boat's out sideways. So, and they're a terrible ride no matter what you do. And I know a couple of people that have the bass boat version of them. They're not really impressed by them either. But I mean, that would be my number one, would be an Express. People rant and rave about those boats, and I don't see it. If I bought an aluminum boat, I would go Crestliner for sure. I've seen those fit and finish on them is way better. That's another thing. The money for the Express, I don't feel like you get what you pay for. It seems very chintzy to me. Everything's very, loose. It's all screws and rivets that, obviously over time back out. And everything to me about an Express is just not what I would anticipate when you pay, $50,000, $60,000 for a boat.
But it also, the live well didn't crack on it and about leave you stranded and sunk in the middle of a tournament either now.
You got to take that with a grain of salt now. You're talking about a boat that did 90 miles an hour.
No, that Allison, I mean, those bullets, Bo, it was a weird shaped boat too. It was a center console. That's a wonky boat. I mean, I've been on a bullet boat before. When I fished in the bass club here in North Carolina in the early 2000s, the guy had a bullet, and I got to fish with him a good amount. And boy, when we went somewhere, we put on helmets, especially in the wintertime. And it was a fun boat to ride in.
It's like I tell everybody, it's all gas, no brakes. I mean, that thing everywhere I went. It didn't matter if I was going, 40 yards. That thing is going to be as fast as it can go until I reach where I'm going.
And now you sold that to go to this Ranger. What made you sell it? Because if you go back and look at your social media post, it looks like you had a relationship with that boat.
Yeah,
it looks like y'all slept together.
So, another little short story about that boat. They made very, very few of them. So it was not only was it a center console, but it was the comp hull. So it was the lightest hull that you could buy from Bullet, all Kevlar. And it very many of them. The hull itself weighed 900 pounds, so super, super light. I always wanted one. I've been talking about it for years. Finally got my hands on one, and I sold it because I made about $16,000 on it. And if I could go back, I wouldn't have sold it. I didn't really sell it to buy the Ranger. I ended up with the Ranger because I got a good deal on it. But I do regret it. That boat would run 103 miles an hour with a 250.
God almighty.
Loaded down, 2 people. So kind of a regret selling it, because I didn't really need the money, but I like making it. But, it's not something I could wake up and go buy today. I can't go somewhere and say I want to buy, especially in that condition. That boat was showroom floor condition.
Dude, that boat looked brand new and was what? Is it 2007?
It was 99.
Oh, never mind. 99. That should tell you everything right there.
99 with a 2017 250 Pro XS. And I had the Lowrance Ghost on it and a set of blades. And I had a system put in it, C-deck in the cockpit. Really, really nice. I had it done really nice. So I had instead of those boats, all Bullets anyways, come with those single seats. And I had a bench custom made for it. I mean, that boat was right. The kid that bought it from me, a kid younger than me, drove from Louisiana, bought it from me, and put a brand new 300R on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it already run 100 mile an hour with a 250.
Woo.
But I do regret it. That boat was my baby for sure. Hands down, I'm going to tell everybody here, Bullet makes the best all-around boat that money could buy. Now, I'm not saying it's the best ride. You know, obviously, my grandpa boat I got in my garage. It's a very good ride. You know, Phoenix is a very nice boat. I've been in those a bunch. But a fast boat, storage-wise, and being able to, I love gamblers. They're a fast boat. I've had, 7 or 8 of them. But they're
Made
very
in
slow.
Santee, South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina boat. KJ Queen's got like a 35-foot one on the elites.
35-foot one.
But that boat, that brand of boat suffers. It'll once it gets up on plane, it'll go, but it suffers. Getting out of the hull, it suffers. Storage wise, it suffers. The only thing that it doesn't suffer from is deck size. But bullets, they're just all around you. Like their 21 XRD, in my opinion, is the best bass boat hull ever made. You put a 250 on it, that boat's running 90s loaded for a 21-footer. It's got a lot of storage, a huge deck, huge live wells. Their live wells are, I think, 50 gallons. All the bullets are the same. They're huge. So, like my Ranger, the biggest one you can buy that I have, my live wells are only like 18 gallons per side. So fairly small, I would say, for a boat of that caliber. But bullets, just in my opinion, if you know how to drive them, that's the biggest thing. You hear people complain about bullets and gamblers and Allisons, and you have to know how to drive those boats. You can't go from, a grandpa giant heavy barge and to a fast boat and expect it to be exactly the same. You have to realize that there's pros and cons to each thing. Yeah, going back to that, I wish I'd have never got rid of that boat, but I've already tried to buy it back.
Yeah.
That
Well,
kid.
I will. Let me ask you this, Justin. So this is primarily a kayak fishing podcast, but
No, it's
obviously
not.
okay. But I know. So Paul and Alex do a lot of kayak fishing. Let's put it there. I do a lot of kayak fishing, and we were going to talk a lot about bass boats on this episode, especially because that is what you do. But I took you on one of your first kayak expeditions on the Broad River, and I would like to know your thoughts on that and what you thought of that experience. Being in a high dollar, we put him in a new canoe F10, put him on the river, and we put him on the Broad River in South Carolina. It's one of the best smallmouth fisheries in the Southeast. He got, the chance to experience a place where you could throw it anywhere and, come out with a spot, a largemouth, a smallmouth, a catfish, a gar. You never know what's about to eat. So
I caught a smallmouth and a largemouth. So my experience with that was really awesome. I know you can't really tell, but I weigh about 260 pounds. So I'm a pretty big boy. So in my mind, Blaine's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go kayak fishing, Broad River. There's some rapid type stuff. You got to drag it over rocks." And I'm thinking to myself, my fat ass has got to get in this kayak, and I'm gonna tippy. I'm gonna be all over the place. I'm gonna roll it, and I have 3 rods with me. I think I brought, and I have some pretty high dollar. All of my setups are not cheap, so that was just the kind of thing that was in my mind of. If I tip and I lose all this stuff and whatever. So we get out there and I get in it, and it took me about probably 5 minutes, but that was very comfortable. It was an awesome experience to, I know a lot of people don't get to experience the Broad River or anything like that.
They don't need to.
Yeah. Y'all can stay away from it, but what a beautiful place that is, and it's such an experience to, it's a little bit of work getting up there, and I had some falls. I fell, I think, like twice on some rocks. But, fun deal for sure. And kayak fishing is definitely, people talk down on it or make fun of it. That is a very, very hard thing to do. So all the people that go out and tournament fish out of kayaks, I give them props because they have, a 30th of what we do in a bass boat, and have to be able to perform the same way.
So when you got back down to Florida, did you quit whitewashing all the kayakers after that trip? Did you?
No, hell no.
Because isn't it?
He said, "Now get the hell off the ramp."
Hey, next, Blaine, you need to take him out and do offshore fishing at Murray, and put him out there in the middle of the lake in the kayak and do some offshore fishing.
See how uneasy you get when there's a guy wake surfing to your right and a pontoon full of drunk people yelling on your left.
I got to experience that a little bit. So I went to, not in a kayak, but I went there for a week. I fished Murray by myself, I think, for 2 days. And my experience with offshore fishing, I took my gambler up there, which I think I went there on Memorial Day.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm finding these ledges. I'm by myself. So I get there probably, noon time the first day I got there. And I'm graphing. I find these ledges. I sit down. I'm like, man, this thing's loaded with fish. So I'm Florida. We're catching schoolers. So we're catching them on a spoon. And I have an infatuation with catching fish on a spoon. It's like my favorite thing to do.
Paul there.
Big spoon, little spoon, what kind of spoon?
Both. So my favorite spoon is actually one you can't buy anymore. It's a 3/4 ounce Johnson shutter spoon. That is my favorite all-time casting spoon, period. You can't buy them. So I get to Murray. I'm graphing. I pull up on this ledge. I see all these fish on this ledge. I'm like, holy shit. I'm about to whack them. I was like, there's no way they're not going to get a spoon. I take my spoon, fire it out there. And it sinks about 15 feet. And all of a sudden, I'm like, thump. And I'm like, okay. Leaning on it. And I'm fighting it. I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird. Well, lo and behold, it's catfish.
Yes.
So I caught about, 15, 16 catfish, striper. I called Blaine, and I'm like, fuck this place. I'm never coming back. And he's like, no, you just, you got to know where to go, whatever. So, all right, I give him the benefit of the doubt, right? So I fished another day, very short there. I only went a couple hours. And then the following day, Blaine goes out there with me. So we're all over the place, and I mean all over the place. And we caught some fish, nothing crazy, but he kept telling me, herring lake, herring lake, herring lake. It's not a shad lake. It's not a shad lake. In my mind, just coming from Florida to that place, there's no flipping. There's no mats. There's no cat, like anything, deep where I am is 15 foot.
Mm-hmm.
And I steer way clear of that shit. I don't do that. If it ain't in like 3 foot of water, I don't want it, So it was just a totally different dynamic for me of being somewhere else, of that caliber, and I know that there's fish there. I've watched it a million times, especially kind of one of my biggest moments of, I used to be, for some reason when I was younger, I followed Anthony Gagliardi a lot. And watching him win out there, that kind of like set the tone for me on lakes of that sort. Those fish live there, and there's giants there. We catch them on an Alabama rig here too. Really good, actually. I caught that same place that I took Blaine. I caught a 36-pound bag on an Alabama rig there. So, giants, catching 8-9 pounders on an A rig. So I know that type of fish and I enjoy it. But for some reason, I could not put what I knew about offshore stuff, anything together there.
And you tournament fish down in Florida, right?
Oh, yeah, very regularly. Yes, sir.
And, oh, hell, fuck me. If you say sir to me again, I'm kicking your ass out. I don't give a damn whose podcast this is today. As I told you before, Yes, sir. So are they all local? Are they regional? Are you doing like any BFL
So
stuff?
I don't do any BFLs, so I'd like to, but I started a business. It really took off, so I do home remodeling.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's quite busy the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I worked for actually John Deere as a salesman for about 3 years. I was the #1 compact construction equipment salesman in the state of Florida. I literally one day I woke up and I was just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I quit the same day. Came home, got on Facebook Marketplace. I bought a trailer, went to all the places, buy all my tools. I spent about $25,000 in one day.
Mighty.
And started my business literally, a week later, and haven't stopped. So I don't really have time to, BFLs. You got to be able to practice. You got to be able to get there and do it. I don't have a whole lot of time to do that. So I fish, Citrus Bass, a club here my uncle runs. I fish the Winston Hunters, and I fish the Extreme Series, which is all over the state of Florida. But I fished the Citrus Extreme and the Johns Lake division. Johns Lake, if Blaine knows, that's like my favorite lake of all time. I win there pretty regularly. I won the points there for 2 years, and then this year I'm in second place for the points. So, that's a big bag lake. We go there, catch 20 to 29 pounds pretty regularly in between there.
And being local, you're also fishing against retired people. Like that goes to say so being a working man.
Yeah. Johns Lake's about an hour away from me, so I don't get to go practice there. We got, there's people that fish that Extreme Series. You have anywhere between, 20 and 35 boats. But they live there. They fish a Tuesday nighter, a Wednesday nighter, and a Friday nighter there. Those people are pretty, it's a tough place to win. You don't just go there and, it's easy to beat everybody. There's some sticks in that division, but I have a magical shell bar there that, man, it works wonders. Like I said, I was there about a week ago. I won with 20 pounds, pulled up to the shell bar. My first fish was 7 pounds, first cast of the day, second cast of the day. My partner caught a 6-pounder. So literally within 5 minutes of the tournament, we boated a 7 and a 6, our first 2 casts.
See that first cast bullshit about it being bad luck. You just quashed that.
Yeah,
you just quashed it.
But I'll tell you right now. So I throw a 12-inch worm on that shell bar. It's about 8 foot of water. Put it on a 3/4 ounce weight. It's very porous shell. So it's got a lot of ridges and deep. But when I put that, if you throw anything less than a 3/4, in my opinion, I like getting in those pockets and letting it grab where I can really pop it out of there. And, it's funny, just as many times as I've done it, I've been fishing that lake for about 4 years now, and it never gets old. So 5 minutes, it's 6:30. You put 2 giants in the boat, and I'm over here trying to put my next worm on, taking like a schoolgirl. You're so fired up. And the guy that fishes with me, Bob Glass, he's older, he's 60, I think 62. And his fish, he catches them flipping like I do. That's all he likes to do. So being on the shell bar for him is something completely different. And he just started fishing with me about 3 months ago. And he looks at me, and he's like going like this, and he's like, my old heart can't take that. He 6-pounder, and it's way out, a full cast length out, and it's jumping all the way back to the boat. Same way, I net the fish and I'm watching his hands go like this. That's normal for you because you got arthritis. I don't. My hands are,
So are you pegging that worm when you're throwing it in that shell bed like that?
I do, but I leave about an inch gap between my peg and my weight. So what I, likes and dislikes about it, when you get real hung up on that shell, and you're trying to pop it off there, the weight will come up and your worm will kind of stay back. And I like that because I feel like you get more bites that way. But that shell that I fish is live. So if you do that and it closes on your line and then you get bit, you're breaking off. So it's
that was about to be my question. So I mean, shell, obviously, thinking of a shell bar, you immediately think of Asian. What kind of line is really keying in for you whenever you're doing this kind of stuff?
So I throw 20-pound trilene, 100% fluorocarbon. It's not. Here's my thing about fluorocarbon. I've tried all kinds of fluorocarbon. You know what I mean? And I've spared no expense on trying to find what's best for me. So I have kind of like two go-tos. I like Fitzgerald. I'm sure you've heard of Fitzgerald rods. That's the only rods that I use. I got about 30 of their rods. His fluorocarbon, great casting fluorocarbon. If you're throwing, Blaine, what the hell you got going on there?
Sorry, man. Sorry, I'm going inside so we don't get any more wind noise. I apologize about that, gentlemen.
We don't get no wind noise. You're over here fucking up his story with dropping the phone, and it looks like Blair Witch Project over here.
I'm sorry. See, you guys.
Carry on, Justin.
All right, so like chatterbaits, any kind of worms I like to throw in, small Cinco or a finesse worm, or I throw Trevor's Fitzgerald's braid. So the 12, 15-pound range. Anything over 15, I throw that track. I've through all kinds of brands. God.
Sorry, boy.
Hold up, Blaine. We got a bad echo coming from your phone. You got to put your earplugs in or take your ass back outside.
All right, we're going back outside then. Sorry, guys.
See what Alex has done to this podcast. We went like 65 episodes with not a lot of audio issues, and then now he's got my guest host over here with audio issues.
Yeah, I know, it's freaking crazy.
You think this is Blaine's first time on a podcast?
You know what, bull? Y'all keep messing with me, and that's the reason you should know it's not my first time, because I'm very concerned about the audio.
Well, I'd rather listen to that little crackle than watch you make a fool out of yourself.
Hey, I apologize.
But that trilene has worked the best for me. I've had a lot of times where I've caught, where I picked up on that shell bar and felt it in the shell, set the hook, still caught it, seen nicks in my line, and, I'm catching, big 4s, 5, and 6 pounders, and it's held up very well. So for, I think it's 150 yards full of that is like $25 or something. So it's not super cheap, but in my opinion, I crack them. I don't barely set the hook. I'm swinging on it when I get bit. And to me, I don't break off very often. And it has good sensitivity, and it doesn't get as much memory as a lot of fluorocarbons that I've come across. I'm not having to change it every week on something that I use religiously.
So as a Carolina guy, I grew up Carolina rigging, and would you never throw that on there because of the shell getting caught in it and tearing the leader and stuff?
Believe it or not.
Sorry, boys.
People who say that it's not true or doubt it or whatever. So that shell bar, a little short story, why I say it's been magical for me. I showed up to the extremes about 4 years ago, never fished that lake in my entire life. Got my teeth kicked in. Literally, I'm floating across the lake, take a phone call. We're out there practicing now, me and my buddy Brady. I take a phone call, and I'm like, man, I'm going to be on the phone for like 30 minutes. We were getting ready to run to another spot. I sat down in the middle of the lake, something important, and I was like, screw it, I'll just throw my worm pole out. So I threw my worm pole out, and it's sinking. I'm on the phone talking. All of a sudden, I feel like a boom, boom, boom. I'm like, the shell bar, 100%. So I had no clue. I found it by luck. And about 3 ticks later, it goes, boom. I set the hook, and I caught a 9-pounder sitting in my driver's seat of my boat. Never even stood up. I mean, I got my phone like this, swing backwards like this, and I look over at my buddy. My phone falls off my shoulder. And I'm like, it's a giant. It's a giant. Comes out of the water. Just the dumbest experience you could ever have. And so we expand on that. So we go back the next day. Because, shell bar bites are generally in the morning or in the evening. They're a very timely thing. So we go back the next day in the morning. We sit down on the shell. We're casting, crankbaits, chatterbaits, Carolina rig, because that was my first shot. It's got isolated high drill on it. Throw a Carolina rig. You're gonna be able to catch something good. Never got a bite. So I go back a week later, go back to the shell, and I tied on a heavier weight, that same 12-inch worm, and I caught them. And that's the only thing they will eat. They won't eat that worm on a Carolina rig. They want it Texas rig. They want it glued to the bottom. And nobody ever believes that. But we started winning those extreme series. So of course, boats follow you. People, that's what people do. So we get out there. Lo and behold, now we've been fishing it for about 3 months, and nobody's out there. And they finally got tired of us winning. We pull up, sit down. Lo and behold, 4 other boats sit down. So they're casting, and we are putting on a show because they don't understand that those fish eat one thing, and that's it. They want that worm, Texas rig, and it has to be that worm. I tried an old monster. I tried any other big worm. They won't eat it. June bug, won't disclose the name of the worm, but it is a 12-inch worm in June bug color. And it's kind of a thing that I keep in my back pocket because a lot of people don't use it. So it's a very looked over worm, and I catch them everywhere on it. It's a great addition to what I do as a fisherman. The little bit of casting I do.
You said do.
Yeah. But I do find that it works for me everywhere. So
so you found this shell bar out of dumb luck. And I've never done any major fishing on the lakes there in Florida. And I've got a question I want to get to after I ask this, unless Justin's got anything with this with after you go into this first question. We hear about a lot of the professionals, and then you hear about locals, like in the kayak world, when they come on podcasts and stuff, you hear them talk about scanning for those shell beds out there.
Yep.
Did you just not scan? Were you not looking for it? Or?
No, I was literally drifting with the wind, no graphs on, no nothing, drifting with the wind because
But can you see it on the graph?
Yeah, you can see it on the graph now, but at that time,
right. Okay.
I wasn't looking for it. But, I don't know if you know what shell bars look like on graphs. So you have, pretty what looks to be hard bottom, but it's very divotty and very small, it looks porous almost. And I'm still learning how to graph. I'm not as you can see, I couldn't even get my laptop to work right. So I'm not like technologically advanced here. So I'm still learning, what things are. Actually, this Ranger is most of my boats. I never even had graphs on them just because I never used them.
Yeah, up close and personal fishing, you didn't need it, huh?
Yeah, you can't graph fish that are underneath the mats. It just don't work like that. So this Ranger's got graphs on it, and a good friend of mine who owns a tackle store, Chris, he owns 44 Tackle, which is right down the road from me. He went out there with me for about, an hour and a half, teaching me, things to look for, little things, and, what, grass looks like and shell looks like, and, what sandy bottom, mud bottom, and pretty much what you're trying to look for. And I still don't know, you know what I mean? Yeah, you see it, you think you know what it is, and then you just don't, So I still have a lot to learn.
Yeah, that's part of fishing it though, seeing it and getting down there and fishing it and seeing what's down there.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this is really taking you to start to work on your offshore game in Florida.
Yeah.
And offshore doesn't always mean deep, and deep is
Yeah.
relative, all that bullshit. But it probably gives you a little bit of confidence to say, I need to go find some shit offshore instead of just running the bank line all day.
It brings me heartbreak more times than none, though. I'm sure you know Lake Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, huge offshore lake. Dudes go there and catch 30, 40-pound bags offshore there. And I'm talking offshore, 20, 25 foot of water. And, man, after John's Lake, after finding that shell bar, I'm catching them in 8 to 10 foot of water. I'm gonna go big dick it everywhere. I'm gonna go catch fish offshore all over the place. Every lake that I know that I can think of that I didn't work out like that.
Yeah.
It gave me the confidence to get away from the bank, but it also kind of put me back towards the bank just because I haven't evolved like that yet. You know what I mean? I haven't tried to. I give it a lot of effort, but it's not growing on me. So I'm not into it. Everybody, you always want to do your strengths. Nobody's going to wake up and go do something they're bad at. So, you get, well.
I'm an idiot, and I do that shit all the time. But anyway, go ahead.
Well,
you want your strengths.
Fishing offshore can be very frustrating, though. It's one of those things that if you like to do what you like to do, you like to flip grass, you like to fish shallow, that it's hard to make that call to go, hey, I need to pull back.
Especially that shithole that you live by.
Yeah, and when you see a mega school of fish and you're like, oh hell yes, about to be on, and it's a bunch of white perch or catfish.
Yeah.
Being able to tell the difference between that. My next question was this: all the tournament trails, kayak, the professional boat, the MLF, they start down in Florida, and it's always, people get on them, but it's always a struggle for a lot of people. And does the whole state of Florida, I know you've got rivers there and you've got all the lakes and stuff, but in general, does the state of Florida fish similar from body of water to body of water? Can you take something from your body of water and take it to Harris and vice versa? Are they that similar in setup, or is it a bigger difference than what you think?
Yeah, they're not that close. Obviously you can take general knowledge. If you catch them flipping mats, you can go to another lake, you find a mat, you can flip it and maybe get bit. But as to like exact technique or what you're looking for, absolutely not. So you take Henderson, which is literally about 3 minutes from my house, and Panosofsky, which is where I took Blaine the day he caught 34 pounds. He's been to both lakes. He knows equally that Henderson is trash. You can't. That lake is very, very. If you go there and you catch 3-pounders, you're catching giants on that place. There's big fish, but they're very few and far between. And I don't go to Panosofsky and do the same thing I do at Henderson. Henderson, I'm like, I'm throwing a horny toad or a Cinco or something to catch, to get big. You're looking for really try to go through fish there because there's, you have to catch 20 small ones before you catch a good one. Now, Henderson, I've caught them, wintertime, like I said, on a spoon. They get out there and, 10 foot of water. We'll go out there and catch 150 fish in a day on an Alabama rig, jerkbait, and a spoon. Fun, full of shad, 3-pounders. Obviously, you can do that, Harris and Griffin. But they're not even relatively close to the same to say that you could, come to Harris, fish a tournament there, and then go to Toho for a tournament and, apply your knowledge, because it's not the case, And from what I've seen, Florida fish is very hard for people that come from anywhere up north, you know, and vice versa. Unless Chris, like I said, a buddy of mine, he fishes the Bass Opens So he knows a lot of people. He experiences a lot of stuff. And he seems to think that people from Florida tend to do pretty good up north, like up north, because they kind of go into it blind and just do finesse stuff. But the people here that come from up north, that come to Florida, are trying to do the same thing, and that's not what you need to do. There's not a whole lot of finesse that goes on here.
And that goes to show with me with that stupid fluke, man. I was just, like I said, I was doing what I knew, and it wasn't the case. You had to go to a whole different level of power fishing.
So he was catching this right here.
But you hear the fluke is the deal in Florida. When people go down there, everybody wants to fish the fluke, and the damn Cinco was invented to fish down in Florida as a fluke, as something else besides a fluke.
But you take that with a grain of salt, because you throw a fluke on the river here, you throw a fluke on Okeechobee, yeah, you catch them. But a Magnum fluke or a Cinco, yeah, you can catch them. Texas rig a Cinco on Okeechobee and cast it around isolated stuff. Absolutely. But you go to like Griffin, Harris, or any of those places, you will have not and will never see somebody say, yeah, I just caught a bag on a fluke. It don't happen. But it's one of those baits that's really versatile. You can use it everywhere. You can catch fish across the country on a fluke, largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass. They all eat it, obviously, and it catches fish no matter what. But they tend to be in that smaller profile range of, half a pound to 2 pound range, which, obviously as a tournament fisherman, and if you've looked at my Facebook profile or anything, I've caught a lot of big fish in my short lifetime, and very blessed to be able to say that. I mean, the number of fish that I've caught in between the 5 and 10 pound range is astronomical, with 4 of them being double-digit fish. My biggest being 13 too. So I've been lucky enough to do that. So when I go out fishing, I'm not really looking for that. So I don't really try to put myself in a position to where I'm going to catch those fish. You know what I mean? I'm either going to be a hero or zero. I'm going for those, and you have to. You take a lake just yesterday or day before yesterday. Orange Lake. It's in Ocala. It's about 45 minutes from me. 4 bags over 32 pounds. So it took 36 pounds to win the Extreme Series there, with a 12-pounder and a 10-pounder in the bag. There was 3 fish over 10 pounds weighed in that day. So, you take that, you're not going out there and throwing a fluke and catching fish of that caliber.
4-pounders ain't getting you shit there, but somebody laughing at you.
Oh, yeah, dude. Whenever I went down there and I caught a 4-pounder, and I flipped it in the boat, and Justin unhooked him and threw him back in. And I was like, I was going to get a picture. He was like,
I literally picked it up, popped the hook out, and said,
Justin was like, hey, bitch, shake that one off. That ain't even worth pulling into the boat.
Well, the bad part is those are the kind of fish we were culling.
It's a good one. Get the net. And it jumps. And he's like,
I watched this boy. Literally, we go out. Panasaki is also it's not a deep lake. Its average is 3 to 4 foot. So it's a very grassy. It's eelgrass, hydrilla. So after we got done flipping, it's the end of the day. I told Blaine, I said, we'll go try and catch some fish in open water. So we stop out open water. He's got on a spook. He makes 2 casts with it, I think, and I'm talking.
Oh, we lost old boy. There he is.
Hold on. You blacked out.
Yeah, I got a call.
Okay, yeah, that's what you said. So he was throwing the spook, and after 2 casts.
Literally, the second cast was like you threw a cinder block in the water. I mean, just giant. And of course, Blaine being Blaine, no drag. I mean, the fish literally
Straight braid.
goes down, lays his rod over, breaks him off. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, it was a double-digit fish, or really, really, really close to it. I mean, it was huge, giant. And, after catching 34 pounds and then seeing that, it just kind of gives you an idea of the caliber that place is, and obviously.
Well, there's fishing, there's bass fishing everywhere else, and then there's Florida bass fishing. I mean, it's just the way it works.
And I lived in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I lived there for 2 years. So I got to fish, another one of my favorite lakes, Texoma, on the Texas-Oklahoma border. I fished Lake Fork. I fished Toledo Bend. I mean, I've been everywhere. I fished a lot of different bodies of water, and none of them will ever compare to me. I can go out on a Lake Panasoffkee, very, very small lake, in my opinion, compared to anything that you guys have up there. It's like a mud puddle, and you go there and it takes high 20s to, mid 30s to win every time. I don't care if you go there every week. We were doing opens when COVID started. We were doing opens every weekend there. And if you didn't have 30 plus pounds, you weren't even getting a check. Every week.
You're fishing for these big fish when you're flipping, you're pitching, you're doing that stuff that you like to do. Are you throwing like 3/4 ounce? Are you throwing big lures at these fish?
I will interrupt and answer this for you. I went there and I had a 1 ounce weight tied on, and he looked back at me in the back of the boat and said, "Boy, you were just pissing in the wind. Ounce weight ain't shit." He said, "You need 1.5 ounces, 2." He said, "You were just pissing in the wind with a 1 ounce weight."
Yeah, so my go-to is 1.5 ounces for sure. Yeah, he knows now. You get, if you have the chance to take a look at the video on mine or Blaine's Facebook of what we did there, that hydrilla that we were flipping is literally like trying to flip through dry land. It is that matted out. So 3/4 ounce weight, yeah, if you're flipping Kissimmee grass or pad, sure. But any of the mats here, very seldom are you going to be able to get through anything like that.
Do you throw any swim baits? Are you doing any big swim baits, any big glide baits?
I have them. I have a $100 glide bait. Actually, after Dummy here came fished with me and had these little Sabile jointed baits, I went to my local tackle store, and I'm in there and I'm like, man, I kind of want to get into something. When I go to like Harris or Johns Lake. On that shell bar, and I bought I can't remember the dang name of it. It's a jointed glide bait. I think it's 10 inches, big one. $100 glide bait, and I think I've thrown it about 3 times. And the first time I backlashed, and it pissed me off. The second time I backlashed, pissed me off. The third time I got it out and said, man, this is fucking stupid. And I cut it off and I was
Give me my flipping stick. This is dumb.
I throw, a big easy swimmer pretty often, which isn't really it is a swim bait, but not what you're gearing towards. I know a lot of people that throw jig heads, swim baits on jig heads, fishing offshore, kind of the stuff that y'all do there. I'm not a fan of it. It's not my go-to. I don't really practice it. I have them. I have probably $2,000 worth of plastic swim baits in my boat that never get opened unless I put one on the back of a chatterbait. Yeah. And
then you got to peel it up from whatever container it's in because it's been in the summer heat in Florida and melted to everything.
Together, colors fused together. Big glob.
Man, I crushed them on this swim bait today. I only got 4 of them because they mixed with 6 others in my tackle box.
Yeah. So what colors you catch them on? He said, I don't fucking know.
Custom Custom.
Custom blended. It took 2 years to get this color.
Absolutely. 2 hard years. You know, they get, and somehow they still get transferred from boat to boat to boat. You know? Every time I buy a new boat, I think about taking them out, and I'm like, nah. Because, you know, that's another big thing I like talking about to people. You know, you have a day, you go through all your fishing stuff. You know, you sit down at your house, you're like, man, I never throw this. You take everything you don't use, you sit it in a pile, and you're like, I'm going to take it out. And then you start putting stuff back in there, and you're looking at it, and you're like, well, what if I need it on this day at this place? And, you know, and I don't know if you're like me, but I cannot get rid of stuff, period.
Hey, not only that, every time I go fishing and I'm like, and so I am in a kayak. If I carry 8 rods, I've got 6 in my box standing up behind me. Or 10. If I carry 10 rods, I've got 6 in my box behind me. I've got 1 or 2 in my kayak holders that are just there. I have 1 on the deck that I'm using, and then, you know, I'll put 1 or 2 in my horizontal rod storage. One day when I say, you know what, I got these bitches dialed in, I don't need this rod or this rod, and I get out there, or this lure and this lure, I get out there and I'm like, well, sure would have been nice to have this damn thing right now. Matter of fact, this tournament Saturday, I knew where the fish were going to be. I knew what they've been biting. I was like, I'm going to catch them on this. And sure shit, I left my damn square bill shit at home.
Oh, dude, it's like they know. It's like they can. Those fish know. I mean, man, it's one of those things that they can tell when you've left something at home, and they were going to make you pay for it no matter what. I've been there 100 times.
Yeah. That's how it goes. Sure enough.
Or spring sight fishing and you leave your sunglasses at home.
Yeah, I'm colorblind, so fuck sight fishing. I can't see shit no damn way. Now, I'll be with somebody and they're like, oh my God, look at that fish right here. See that fish? I'm like, bro, you're going to have to stick your pole in the water and shake it around and then tell me how far it is from there, because no, I cannot see it. So the water visibility is 14 inches. It's brownish green. And I'm brown, green, orange, red, colorblind. No, I can't see that fucking fish under that shit.
So how does picking colors go for you?
Well, judging by his shirt, not very good.
Easy now. High vis yellow is safety first.
It is safety first.
So, quick science lesson. Colorblind doesn't mean you can't see colors. It means you can't distinguish colors together. So mine's are red, browns, oranges, and greens, which is fucking nature, everything in nature. So when I go deer hunting, you know, or used to, I don't deer hunt much anymore, but when I used to, that shit was hard as hell. I mean, I can't see shit.
Yeah.
But when I get colors together, I'm a pretty basic angler anyway. I have black and I have dark colors. I have your green, your pumpkins and watermelons, your black and blues, and then shad colors. So white, light blues, you know, with some chartreuse yellow in there.
Well,
that's how I fish. If they ain't biting, you know, dark watermelon,
they ain't riding with him.
No. Look, if I need 16 specks of blue flake and 18 specks of silver sparkle fleck, I'm not catching that fish. Right. That fish can go fuck itself because I'm not having anything to do with it.
I had a friend that was red-green colorblind I played rugby with, and the field that we played on, the guys came out to paint it, and they painted all the lines on the field red. We used to have to scream at him when he was in the end zone to touch the ball down, or he'd run straight out the back of that son of a bitch.
Well, one of my funniest things is I was a wildland firefighter, and so we used a lot of flagging tape for stuff out there. And so anytime that I would go somewhere and we're using flagging tape, I had to say, hey, look, guys, we got to use, hopefully we got some kind of candy stripe. I could see that pretty well, but we could not use green, red, or orange. It had to be pink. Couldn't even use like a neon yellow. It had to be pink, or candy stripe was the best. I could see that. But I mean, it does suck fishing with that because I can't see in the water like that. Not that it matters around here. I mean, again, the average visibility in my lakes here is, 14 damn inches. You can't see nothing no damn way.
You need those chroma glasses.
No, I don't. We ain't. I don't know why the hell we talking about me being colorblind. We done talked about 18 times on this damn show.
Dude, I never do that. That's very interesting.
We're just talking about how you're missing out on, one of my other favorite things to do is, a lot of people are against it, whatever. If you go fishing while they're bedding, you're still catching bedding fish. Whether you know it or not, you're still catching it. So I do it. I do. I'm in a tournament and I see a fish on a bed, your boy's catching it.
Yeah.
I don't go out there to pick off, little small fish. I don't go up and beat on 3 and 4 pounders on the bed. But we do a big bass tournament here. It's an hourly thing every year. And boy, when it's going, there's giants on the bed. So another little short story about my terrible experience with that tournament this past year. As much as I trade boats, I had a Ranger, a small R91, I think it was, with no power poles. And I'm going to fish a tournament that I got fish on the bed.
So, and the wind's always blowing in Florida. It's like Texas. It shit never don't not blow.
And without a doubt, we 5 to 10, not terrible. We go out there, it's blowing 15 to 20.
Which is 45 miles per hour on the lake.
Yeah. So we sit down on the first bed fish. It's double-digit fish, by the way. We sit down on it. I got my buddy Brady. He's my power pole. He's holding on the dock post, holding the boat there. And I'm standing on the front of the boat on top of my trolling motor looking at this bedfish.
Your trolling motor must be strong as hell to hold up your big ass.
Yeah. 4 tracks, baby. And I pitch on this fish, I don't know, probably 100 times, no joke. And I pick up, I'm digging in my rod box. I'm like, what do I have tied on that she might eat or, kind of fire on? And I had those Z-Man hooks that they use for finesse ones. They're the EWG hooks. You got the weight on top. So
it's called a Ned rig.
No, not the
trim
head. It's an actual EWG hook, and it's weighted
like a Tokyo rig.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I had one of those tied on, and I had a crawl on it, and it was a white crawl, and it's on monofilament. All this is happening so fast. You're just in a rush. You're trying to whatever, and I got it on 14-pound monofilament. I didn't know at the time. I'm not
fishing for a 14-pound fish on 14 pounds. That monofilament probably been on that rod and reel sitting in his boat locker for 5 years too.
All right, when I pitched it out there, I should have known everything was going to go wrong. I pitched it out there, my line went down and it just coils. That's all you see, right? And this crawl is falling like, we're in 5 foot of water. That lake's clear back there where we are, so you can see her clear as day. My first pitch with it. And I'm just trying to get her to fire on something. My first pitch with it, I pitch it in there, and that crawl falls like a tube. And it gets about halfway down the water column. She comes up and smokes it. Just engulfs it, And at that time, you have to make a decision of, do I let her spit it out and try to tie that bait on a braid, or do I set the hook? And of course, I set the hook. So I set the hook, lean into her. She's peeling drag because I have my drag set. I'm not like Blaine. She's peeling drag, comes up, and it's, 10, 11 pounder, giant. We had found this fish 2 days before, and so that tournament, the way that it works is $1,000 for a big fish every hour, $1,000 for biggest fish of the day, and $1,000 for the biggest bag of the day. Well,
hour.
we had 2 big fish on the bed, and the first one was mine. The second one was my partner's. And lo and behold, it comes up. She's peeling drag. She runs out, comes back towards me. My partner, we're fishing around pads, of course. They can never bed out in the wide open. They got to be right up next to some shit. So she gets all up in the pads. My partner, instead of trying to grab her, tries to net her, knocks her off the hook. Fish is gone. And would have been a much better if I had put it on fluorocarbon or braid. Obviously I could control it a little bit better, but my mistake. So we go right around the bend. We're in a little canal system. We go right around the bend, pull up on the next fish. He pitches in the bed. Another fish, 8, 9 pounds, big one. He pitches in the bed. Sorry, bitch. Eats it on the first cast. I had to work for mine, still lost. He eats it on the first pitch in there. He sets the hook. Fish comes up out of the water, comes off. And that was pretty devastating, because not only was that you could have won 2 hours with those fish. We pretty much lost $4,000 in the matter of 15 minutes, But sight fishing will always be one of my favorite things. I think it gives you, when you pull up somewhere and you see that 5, 6, 7 pounder sitting on a bed, you're like a child, your heart starts racing. It gives you that adrenaline rush, and you get to watch it all happen. And to me, that's the coolest thing. I bass fish because I enjoy it, and that's those are the things that I enjoy. I like the sport. I do it for the competitiveness, but at the end of the day, it's just a relaxing thing for me to do, and it's the only thing that I've found that gives me, that excitement out of anything that I've ever tried to do.
You referenced it earlier though. You caught these, whenever it was a couple of weeks ago, y'all had that tournament, and y'all caught these fish, and you're both shaking. I mean, that's in probably catching some of those catfish up in Murray.
Yeah,
when you probably first caught it, it was exciting. It's that shake.
Yeah.
I caught a 22.5-inch fish this Saturday, and I thought it was a catfish. The area I was fishing, there wasn't a lot of fish down there. They were good size. They were either bass or catfish.
Mm-hmm.
And it 17 foot of water. So the fish, and I caught it on a blade bait, and so it's on a spinning reel. But you just don't know sometimes, because those bigger catfish won't roll like those little stupid ones. They fight different, and I thought it was, and it started coming up, kind of. It didn't come up like it wanted to jump like a bass.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm like, it's a stupid cat. I just posted a video to us. Oh, stupid catfish, and like 3 seconds later, I'm like, oh shit, no, this is a giant. I left my net at the house too, and so. With a blade bait, they come off that stupid bait all the damn time until I started changing hooks out. Matter of fact, if y'all use a blade bait and you use the steel shads, take out those number 8s and put you some number 6s on both of them. It ain't going to affect nothing. But anyway, you'll catch more fish. I caught that fish, and again, same thing. It's that excitement. And now this is a long fish, but that poor old sow ain't weighed but 5 pounds 9 ounces. She was like that sow that Blaine caught. Some old sow went back into the back of the damn creek there where he went to die. That's what Ryan Lambert ended up saying. Poor old sow went back there to die, and Blaine hooked her up and yanked her out the water and kicked her around. And but it is that excitement. And a big fish, just like depth, is relative to people, relative to where you are. And so for some people, a 5 or 6 pound fish is the biggest fish they'll ever catch if they never go to a different body of water. But I mean, even 5 or 6 pound fish are exciting as hell. I would assume they're still exciting to you, and you're pulling out 8, 9 pounders regularly.
I catch 5 pounders pretty regularly. I'd say, to put a number in perspective, if I go flipping every weekend for every month, which I generally do at least one day, I catch at least one fish over 5 pounds, if not 3 or 4. But it just goes back to the love for the sport. It's really not even about the fish so much. But anytime I flip into the mat and I get bit, before you know what it is, that exact, short moment in time, you're excited because you're doing something you love to do and you got bit. And a fish is there, you don't know what it is. And the whole time, it feels like you're in slow motion. You know how it is. You get bit, you think a minute's passed, but really it's been 5 seconds. And that, like I said, that just goes back to the love of the sport. When I was a child, it was my getaway. So it kind of molded me into what I do today. And I've always told everybody, if I can't fish, I have no reason to be here because that's just what I like to do. I can't live without it. It's if I go more than a week without it, I'm like depressed. I'm depressed. I walk in the garage and I, rub my boat on the side. And I'm like, it's okay. I still love you. I'll be out there.
Justin's walking in his garage and looking at like $150,000 in fishing shit going, what the hell am I doing? Not taking something out here and going to catch something.
Exactly, man.
And I've had those moments where, you fish a tournament, everything goes wrong. You're like, fuck this. I'm fucking going home. I'm selling all my shit. My rods, my boat, and everything is one. Fuck all this. I'm never doing it again. And then you hook into another fish and you're like, all right, I'm good.
Well, as a TD, I see that about after every tournament we run, especially the ones that are on Santee and, these lakes that are supposed to have big ones. These guys will go out there and zero and just be like, I'm done. And I mean, it's not an attitude you can have as an angler. You're going to have bad days.
Yeah, but my biggest thing I think for me is that I expect a lot out of myself. I'm not saying that I'm like, by no means like the best fisherman ever, but I win a lot of tournaments here. I put up my fair share of big sacks. I'm consistent. I do what I need to do. So I have high expectations for myself. So when I go out and something that I should have won and I didn't because I didn't execute how I was supposed to, obviously it puts you in a tough spot.
Well, so you bring up something that I really like to talk about, and it's that mental aspect of this sport. And I say that from the aspect of tournament fishing, competitive fishing, albeit in a kayak with 20 other guys or 200, or in a boat with 20 guys or 200. A lot of people fish tournaments because they like to fish, right? But they also want that compete. That's the only reason I fish. I mean, I fish because I want to fish tournaments. I want to compete. Yeah. So when I don't go fun fishing. When I go out fishing, I'm working on a technique. I'm learning something in the lake. Like, that's the mentality I have. That's a hard mentality because people are like, oh man, you're just never having fun. I'm out there having fun. But if I start catching a bunch of catfish and perch, I'm like, man, this is fucking stupid. Let me go, somewhere else. And every tournament I go into, my mentality is to win. That's where I go from. Yeah. And so when I have a bad tournament, it's the same thing. I joke. I was like, I'll get back around. It's like, hey, everything's for sale. I pushed the kayak back out the lake, let that bitch float off before I need to go out and get it. The thing is it's a competitive thing, and it's not. That's the cool thing about fishing, right? We're not just competing against each other.
Yeah.
The competition really comes down to you and the fish.
Yeah. And
there's so many uncontrollable variables about fishing. For me, when I have a bad day fishing or I have a terrible tournament, I get frustrated. But I'm sitting here in my mind starting to conceptualize everything and like, all right, I get home, I'm tired. I can't wait to get home and take all the shit out the truck and then go, all right, I'm going fishing tomorrow morning. Like, yeah. I need to go figure it out. And, that lends to how you get better because, well, this shit didn't work. Let me go out here and try something different. Or you get beat by somebody doing something and you're like, I'm going to go buy some shaky heads. And I'm going to go fish shaky heads until I've learned what the bite feels like, where, all these little nuances. So next time I'll tell you this past term, I finished third. I would not have finished third at this time last year because I would have, just theoretically, I'd have caught every fish I caught on that steel shad because I would have thrown that last year. But I never would have gone to where I went and caught my first 5 12 inchers. My limit were all like 12 and a half inchers off of that. But I finished third with 2 12 inchers. I never would have done that. So we always and we all fish tournaments, right? So this is what it comes down to regardless of what boat we're in. You're always like, shit, how do I get better? What do I need to do to improve? What did this guy do that I didn't do? And you know what? And it's you going out there and starting to learn how to do some offshore shit and find some more shell beds because you've got some confidence and you know something that maybe somebody else doesn't know about a shell bed they didn't get bit at.
Yeah. And I think if that ever stops, that's when you don't have as much love for the sport as you did. The fact that you have a bad day and then you want to go back out there the next day and try and figure it out. That's not only is the competitiveness, but it's how much you love it. You want to be good at it. Especially my biggest thing is you have people that you absolutely don't like in the sport. You know what I mean? People that I have a handful of people that I have to fish with all the time that are not my favorite people. So when you get beat by those people doing something like that, it makes you want to grow as an angler, just because there's not many times. Like my big thing, worm throwing. Okay, casting a worm catches fish, yes, but you go to Panasofsky and you cast a worm, it's not going to catch the consistent bags that flipping a mat does, And I'm not very good at it there because my mind is so set on flipping mats. But when you go there and you get beat by somebody you don't really like, and they're casting a worm and, they caught 30 pounds on it, I'm the same way, that happened to me probably a year ago. And I was back then I was doing stuff on my own, doing house remodeling, or probably 2 years ago. So I could kind of pick and choose when I wanted to work. And so I took, literally, I'm not joking you, I took a week off every day throwing a worm. Every day. And did it work out for me? Absolutely fucking not. But that's, it's summertime, and I was kind of in one of those situations, I'm out there trying to better myself. It's summertime. It's 100 fucking degrees. I'm sweating like a stuck pig, and I'm out here throwing a fucking worm, doing something I hate doing. Yeah. And I just, you're ready to kill yourself out there because it's just miserable. But
sometimes that is what it takes to become a well-rounded angler, though, is just to do those things that you're uncomfortable with. I mean, for instance, dude, me coming down there to Florida, never seen a grass mat in my life, really. And if I did, I wouldn't know what to do with it. It's just one of those things. It takes learning new techniques. I learned that in Florida. I went and applied it on Santee, caught a giant fish, won a bunch of money. It goes to show. I appreciate your help.
And here's
thanks to your flipping mentor,
Yeah, I hope he pays you for some of that coaching.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, when I seen that picture, I patted the shit out of my back.
Yeah, that was my first phone call. Was that guy? I was like, you'll never guess what I just did.
Blaine, you mentioned a well-rounded angler, and we hear that now. Like so back in the day, professional anglers were known for a thing, and that's what they did predominantly. And now you hear people talk about how professional anglers now are just so well-rounded. And you hear that through all these YouTube people and the folks out here learning how to fish and people kayak fishing. You need to be well-rounded. You need to be well-rounded. And I have a problem with that because I don't think you need to be proficient in everything. You need to have your 1, 2, 3, whatever it is that you like to go catch fish on, that you can, but you need to know enough. You don't have to be proficient in it, but you need to be able to know enough to cast that worm or to cast that shaky head or to throw a drop shot when the scenario calls for it. So what I would say people need to be more mindful of is not the technique or the lure. They need to be more mindful of the situation and the bass behavior so that when they see that, they at least know how to tie that bitch on and go out there and throw it to them. Because it doesn't have to be perfect. 99% of the time, it doesn't have to be perfect. Look, you can't catch fish where fish ain't. Buck Perry said you can't catch fish where fish ain't. But, and I think it was Edwin Evers that said this. I think that's who it was. He said you can have the perfect cast in the wrong spot. You ain't ever going to catch a fish. But you can have, you can have the perfect lure in the wrong spot and never catch fish. You can have the wrong lure in the right spot and still catch fish.
Yep.
And it goes back to you can't catch fish where fish ain't. So it's all about understanding the fish behavior, the movements, where they are, what they're doing, and then having the minimal knowledge to tie something on that you know, holy shit, that's a shaky head bite. Let me go tie that on and throw it. So the well-rounded to me is more towards understanding the situation that you're fishing, fish the moment. Ike says that. Obviously, Johnny Schultz has fish the moment stuff. But, you know, that's to me, that's what well-rounded means. Doesn't mean that you have every lure ever made and you know how to fish them to perfection.
Yeah, and I can get behind that because, like I said, you want to fish your strengths. You know, I think, you know, you go to a lake prominently fish, that doesn't mean that you have to catch them on that. You know, you could take a you go to a smallmouth lake, you catch, you know, people predominantly catch them on a drop shot or any kind of finesse out in, you know, that 10 to 15 foot of water on shoals or rock ledges or anything like that. But that doesn't mean that you have to go there and do that. You know, you can go there and take, say, if you like cranking, you go there and you take what you know, you try to figure out your scenario that way. And if it doesn't work out, then you fall back to the other. But in my opinion, I'm the same way. You don't have to be well-rounded in everything that, you know, goes on in the fishing world. So,
damn, Blaine, look, this is why you're here as guest co-host. So when there's a lull in the talking, you're on mute, dumbass. When there's a lull in talking, you take over. Okay. When I have to go tinkle and there's a lull in talking, that's why I hold the sign up. Got to go tinkle. When there's a lull, you take over.
Yeah.
You know what? You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
That was quick.
Obviously,
an episode.
Obviously, I can't go in there and tinkle slowly because the podcast would be like 45 seconds of nothing because you didn't do your job.
At least you did mute yourself this time because
I did not.
You didn't, and it just sounded
my microphone
like a slow waterfall.
My microphone was on. My microphone was on. I can still hear because I got the earplugs in. But anyway, doesn't matter.
Last time I was worried everything was okay.
Yeah, he's over here worried about me talking. He's over here being a fucking mute.
Hey man,
he's muted.
The wind over here has been pretty brutal, and like I said, I am on vacation, and I've got a sleeping baby in there, trying not to be on top of all of that.
You know what? Excuses are for people scared of their wives, because I make a ton of them myself, so I completely understand.
Oh, I'm horrified of my wife. Don't worry.
I would be too.
I know is she as short as she looks, or is it just because you're
4'11", bro?
Hey, that's how tall my wife is. You know what? 4'11".
Alex is too.
No, he might be a little shorter. I haven't met him in person. Look, let me tell you something. If your wife or girlfriend is 4'11", I can promise you two things. One, she will keep you in line, and two, she is mean, lovingly mean.
Yeah. Yes, that's a very good way to describe it. I'd always say, the shorter the woman, the closer to hell, and sometimes it applies. No, but she, man, like I said, when you grow up being that short, I feel like you got to defend yourself. Sometimes you get picked on a lot.
we definitely picked on her. So I knew Blaine's wife before he ever even met her. So me and Blaine's wife went to school together in Florida.
Okay.
So
see how fishing brings people together.
That's it, dude. I met this guy on Facebook.
Yeah. Yep. And
so Blaine's a Facebook stalker. Okay, we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously you heard what I said about the well-rounded deal. I agree with you 100% on that, though. But you always want to go out there and try to do what your strong suit is before you try to figure out something else.
Well, that's the best way to break down new waters, to go out there with confidence. And I mean, that's one thing you can do is just tie on something that hey, I've slayed them on this shit, and you can go out there and go, okay, if I can catch them on this here, I'll be able to catch them here, and it helps you put the puzzle together in your mind before a tournament.
I think it. Hold on. I think it does that with how technology is today. Forward facing sonar, side scan. Understanding fish behavior. I think we have a lot better understanding of fish behavior now. Taking that strong suit out there, and if you are around bass, if you're around those fish, and you're fishing the scenario, and you're fishing what you're comfortable with, and it's not working, then all right, there's fish here. I know these are bass here. Can I get them to bite? What do I need to do? Then you start running through the other techniques in your arsenal. I think that's where technology comes into play the most, because you can see the fish there. You're not just going to a point and fan casting all the way around a point from the side, the back, the front, the other side. You're not wasting all that time now. You're using technology to do that. The other thing is, if you go out there and shit's not working that you're comfortable with, you're eliminating water. And what do they say about fishing is the biggest thing is eliminating water.
Yeah, my big thing is, so say you're in a tournament, right? You're fishing a body of water, and it's a really tough bite. What you're confident in may not, if you have to only get 5 bites a day, which some tournaments are like that, you're not going to try to get 5 bites with something that you don't regularly use. You know what I mean? That's what spins you out. If you have to get 5 bites on something you're confident in, you'll keep throwing it. It's like me flipping a mat. I could get, 5 bites all day long flipping and be content, because I know, I'm confident and I know when I get bit what it's going to be. But, if you're one of those people that goes out and you don't get bit right away and you're, jumbling through 16 different things, that's when you're spinning your wheels and being well-rounded at that, at that time. It doesn't make you any, a better fisherman, in my opinion. That just means that you know a lot about a lot of things, but you could also, that could also dig you a bigger hole. You could say, okay, they're doing this, and I can't catch them the normal way, so I'm going to catch them, like so-and-so did back in whenever, and you're out there doing that, and you're still not catching them, If you can't stick to something that, that you're good at, then it's always going to be tough for you. You're never going to be able to go out and do something that you never do and say, oh, yeah, very seldom. Oh, yeah, I won this tournament, or I cracked them doing something I never do in my entire life, And it just doesn't happen very often. But that's also because most people don't stray away from what they know.
Mm-hmm.
I have 30 rods, and I use 5 regularly,
Yeah, I've always found that, like, if you can go somewhere and you can apply that knowledge, and you can figure something out, man, it does so much for you confidence-wise that you are able to go forward and actually put it together. It helps you so much, and that's what I always have said, too. You got to be well-rounded, but you got to have your thing.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And knowledge, like last week on John's Lake, I'm flipping, John's Lake, huge hydrilla mats, and I mean huge. They're deep, very deep. you can't even get close to the bank because the hydrilla is so grown off of them. I go to pitch, 2-ounce weight, by the way.
God almighty.
I put it out, and it's not going through, and I'm shaking it, and I still can't get it to go through. I watch probably 3 feet away, just the slightest movement in the mat, and I mean the littlest. I can't believe I've seen it. And I tell my partner, Bob, I don't want to try to get my weight through more and it be a fish and, pull it out or scare it or whatever. So I'm going to leave mine in there, pitch beside me. He pitches in there and catches a 3-pounder. That is a confidence booster for the rest of the day. You made a right decision, 3 pounds on, we caught those 2 big fish, and then it was a grind after that.
Well, but I mean, that's it. That's your thing. You know how to flip so well that you saw the mat roll and knew what that meant. I mean, that is what it comes down to, is having your thing. You've got to be better at everybody at something. That's what puts you aside.
And that's what offshore anglers nowadays can look at their forward-facing sonar and look at fish and throw a lure in there and go, they ain't ready. And they leave and they go somewhere else and they come back. Justin, go do what you got to do. I see you going on mute. So Blaine, what is, you went down and fished with Justin down in Florida. Did you have any experience down in Florida?
Dude, I mean, I had very little. I mean, my granddad when I grew up, my granddad lived in Jacksonville. I fished some ponds around there. But, dude, as a competitive tournament angler, no. I went down there on vacation. I visited, 2 days whenever we came back through. We were staying in my wife's hometown. And when we were on our way back through, that was when I was like, honey, did you go to high school with anybody or anything that knows the area? And she's like, yeah, And then she posted, hey, does anyone, fish a lot around the Crystal River area, be willing to take my husband out? He's just looking to catch a big one. And someone, Joseph got on there and was like, hey, you need to go wherever the hell Justin Jones goes. I got a Facebook message into him. He hit me back, and at 6 o'clock the next morning, I was in his driveway once again, and attest to the fishing community, man. Mm-hmm. And it's formed a lifelong friendship. But yeah, in Florida, I had zero experience. Like I said, I'm in the back of the boat throwing a fluke on 12-pound test, and comparatively speaking, I mean, it changed the game for me because with those, extra heavy rods, 65-pound braid, it's just stuff that I'm not used to doing and was not prepared to do. So once I got out there and was able to do it, man, it changed everything for me. And it just it taught me how to fish grass. And, before it was, oh, there's grass, throw a frog in it. Now it's, okay, What type of grass is it? How deep is it? What kind of consistency is it? What level of light is this thing filtering out? All of that comes into play with this and depends on what you throw. So, yeah, it taught me so much. And, you go to Florida and just think, it's Florida. I'm going to go down here and just wreck them. And that's not the way it goes. You've got to kind of
Most people go down there and think that, and their asses don't catch nothing.
That's it. Nothing. You got to go down there with a humble mentality and be ready to learn something new because it's a new place and it's a different strain of bass that I'm used to fishing for. I mean, we've got Florida strain in South Carolina, but on Lake Murray, they're northern strain and combos. So,
yeah, and tell me how 2 days he comes down here, catches 34 pounds the first day, 30, almost 30 the next time, a day apart or a day in between that we didn't fish. And then he drags my ass all the way to South Carolina, and I have to
shows him a 12-pound bag and sends him home with his tail. And so he
a bunch of I literally in that moment I said, Blaine, I'm never fucking coming back here. Fuck this place. I'm not doing it.
He's going to come back. He's going to come back and fish Murray and catch some bigger fish. Well, he's going to go to Santee. You're going to take him down there and let him see some real alligators, not them little Florida dink alligators. Y'all both need to make a trip up here to Jordan and Sharon Harris so I can take y'all out and we can probably not catch nothing but perch and catfish.
Hey, but you know how much beer would get consumed on that fishing trip? My God.
Well, no, it would be White Claw surges.
My man.
Justin, I have a question for you. You're fairly young, 26 years old. It sounds like 26, 27, somewhere in there. Huh?
26.
Okay, 26 years old. But you obviously have your shit together. You know, you can tell by the way you talk, tell by the way you fish, the fish you catch. I got a 2-part series. One, I need you to make a short answer because it's a short answer question. You talk about all these big fish you catch and going out there and catching, you know, you want to catch 7, 8, 9, 10 double digits, and 3 and 4 pounders don't mean shit to you. That's the social media talk, right? In real life, are you going out there and catching 7, 8, 9 pounder every day you go out, or do you go out there some days and you might not catch a fish, or you might not get a bite, or you might catch a bunch of dinks?
Like I said, today I caught a bunch of small fish, like I told you, but it's few and far between, you know, like my girlfriend and I went out, Saturday? I literally said, I don't care how many bites I get. I went to Panasafi. I said, I want one big fish. That's all I care about.
Okay.
Well, I caught, 10-3? 10-3. Literally, I pitch in this mat. It's about, as big around as you can make a circle with your arms. Whole tree shakes. And I set the hook on it. And I look at her and I'm like, it's a giant. Get the net. I said it's a giant like 3 times. And I look back. And she still hasn't moved. Her ass is still glued to the seat. What the fuck are you doing? I was like, get the net.
This is not a drill.
You need to take the seat out that boat. That's all I got to say.
I swing it in the boat. It hits the side of the boat, comes off, and falls in the cockpit.
So you did a Blaine Upton. At least you didn't kick it back in the water.
No, I didn't. No.
The other question I had is, and maybe we'll lead with this. What's your experience with folks that you fished against or with? And obviously we've got the story of Blaine coming down there, doesn't know shit about Florida except what he's read. That's why he went down there with a fluke and 12-pound test. What is the biggest thing that you see? And you might even see it if you even watch the elites or MLF or any of the pro guys that we get to watch on TV. What's the biggest thing that you see from folks coming to Florida for the first time or maybe their second time? They just don't know, right? They don't know the Florida fishing. What's the biggest thing or two that you see that's a misconception, or that they come down here and you're like, man, this guy is not going to figure it out. He doesn't know. He's not going to have a good trip.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I see is people take, those lakes where you guys are, just say somebody like Blaine coming down from South Carolina, they see grass and they absolutely instantly associate grass with fish. Okay. So, Blaine comes down here, he sees all this hydrilla, he wants to fish it.
Florida is nothing but the whole fucking lake's grass.
That's people's biggest kryptonite is, you can fish, it's like Gunnersville. You can fish 3,000 yards of the same line of grass, not get bit, but only 100 of it's good.
Yeah, it's sections. You gotta find hot stretches. It's bizarre.
It could be like the smallest thing. You could have 8 foot of water with, 6 foot of hydrilla grown up, but you need 5.5 foot. People associate grass with fish that don't. You fish those lakes, especially way up north. A lot of those lakes don't have that, so they think that they're going to come here and throw worms and chatterbaits and all this hydrilla and all this grass, and they're going to catch them. But that's not the case. I have fished the prettiest looking hydrilla, any grass lines you've ever seen in your life, and not got bit more times than none.
So you saying the jackhammer is an overrated lure in Florida?
No.
That's what I heard. So you better defend yourself, or we're ending right now, and that's going to be the end of the podcast. Justin Jones, the younger brother of Jessica Jones from Marvel, said that the jackhammer is the most overrated bait in Florida. You better correct me if I'm wrong.
Dude, I think one of them stays.
All right, the podcast is over. Justin Jones, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Short story, 4th of July, the 3rd.
Boy, I'm glad your stories are fucking short, because this is at least the 100th one we've had tonight.
Hey,
Yeah.
What did you say to me when I first came on here? On Bass and Brews, you have between an hour and 3 hours to tell a story.
Yeah. So guess what? I'm gonna use that shit. We the 3rd of July, they do fireworks on our lake here that I live on. Actually, the biggest bag I've ever caught out of it was 22 pounds. And I sit down. There's a spot. We went back there, Blaine, East Cove. It's like 3 small pools of, I guess you would say, pond-like places. And there's one section that's got long concrete walls, and at the mouth of it, it opens up. I sat down on that mouth and caught about 17 fish in a row on a white jackhammer, 3/4 ounce, with pearl razor shad on the back. And my buddy Joseph also, and a 10-year-old kid, his girlfriend's kid, was with us, and he was cracking them on a chatterbait. So there's definitely a time and a place for it, but I don't think that, all these people that come here and just want to glue it to their hand and throw it and throw it and throw it, it's not that, it's not you're going to throw it. Like I threw it today a bunch, never even got a bite on it. There's just a place for it. And if you don't have wind, if it's windy, you're going to smash them. You get on a lake that's got, 3 foot of water on top of 5 foot of hydrilla and the wind's blowing, you have a good chance to catch a bag. But if it's bluebird skies, no wind, you might as well not even take it out of your box.
So do you throw spinner baits, or do you throw those at all?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm a big
spinner bait is like a Florida. I guess we can call it old school now because it has so many other things, and especially how punching has come along. But spinnerbait used to be the deal down in Florida, man. That was the whole thing, and it had to be windy. But yeah, ripping it through the grass.
So growing up too, Lake Panasoffkee, Blaine's been there. That place used to be, 4 foot of water, super, super clear, like gin clear lake. It's not anymore. And it used to be all sand bottom, and it was all eelgrass. And you could take white spinnerbait and throw it in the holes in the eelgrass and sack them. Like I was on that lake at 10 years old catching, with my uncle, catching 20-pound bags on a spinnerbait, and I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I just knew it to go in that hole, and that was it. So, and obviously spinnerbaits are a good thing, raining, windy, any tough conditions, prefrontal conditions, they're a great bait to even catch numbers or get big.
And are you throwing? So you just mentioned a 3/4 ounce jackhammer. Are you throwing 3/4 ounce big bladed spinner baits? Are the majority of you're not throwing a little Ned rig, a little TRD. Your shit. Are you specifically using bigger, heavier, gaudy lures when you're doing it?
Because I try to target those bigger fish. You have I have some smaller, finesse bladed spinner baits for, if I'm trying to. I don't like using those big ones if I'm like fishing docks or anything like that. I like War Eagle finesse spinnerbait, in my opinion, is hands down the best spinnerbait on the market for, casting, trying to skip it underneath docks, anything like that. So I do have some of those smaller, more, finesse tight spinnerbaits, but I use, anything over, half ounce, 3/4 ounce in deeper water. I like the Z-Man spinnerbaits. They've just always been really good for me. I like the way at the bottom of them slanted up because I like slow rolling it on the bottom. So and down there. I like being close. Like I know a lot of people throw the jackhammer. They like cranking it in as fast as they can reel it. I like that thing kissing the bottom the whole time. That's just my favorite thing to do. I've caught a lot of big fish doing it. I've caught big fish, Kissimmee Toho, reeling that thing on the bottom in the mud than the person that was running the boat, using the same exact bait. But those big fish are, when they get, you have some fish that stay mid-water column, some fish who are on, that are glued to the bottom. And more times than none, those ones on the bottom are the bigger ones.
Oh, you said mud. So you're not bouncing them off the bottom on the sand or shell. You're fishing it on the mud bottoms and catching those fish.
Okay, so East Cove back there, that Henderson is a big mud bottom lake. You let that thing go you reel it too slow and you bring it up and it's got nasty, stringy, brown, stinky mud shit on there. So yeah, I catch them. I don't necessarily have to have grass. That goes back to having confidence in what you're doing. I grew up on that lake, so I have a lot of hours invested in that place.
But you hear a lot with Florida is in kind of in fishing in general, like mud bottoms aren't where you want to catch the fish. You're looking for the harder bottoms, the rock, the sand, the pebble.
Yeah.
And so for you to say mud, that's interesting to me at least, because I'd imagine that you're looking for those cleaner sandy bottoms to do that.
You are if there's not bait there to keep those fish there. You know what I mean? So, fish are going to go no matter what, going to go where the bait is. So we have a big shad spawn going on right now. And back there in the East Cove, there's a bunch of shad back there. So generally all year long they're back there, but this time of year, it doesn't matter what the bottom is. Those fish are going to be there because they're following bait. So people have the misconception of if you cast out and you get mud on your worm or whatever, no good. But that's not the case. You take, and that's going back to flipping. I can't tell you how many times I flipped into a mat that's 6 inches deep, and the fish's back should have been out of the water, and it's all mud. And I caught 7, 8 pounders. That shit happens. Panisovsky. When that lake gets low, you flip mats up against brush. There's a foot of water there, maybe, and you're catching 6 to 10 pounders out of no water. Like you're thinking to yourself, them fish are under the mat sideways just so they're not out of the water. That's how shallow I've caught them. That 10 pound caught over the weekend, maybe in 1.5 feet of water.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're lucky to catch it because your girlfriend was doing a poor job at netting it.
Yeah, she can hear you too. She
hey, that's fine. I'm in North Carolina. That's fine. She can hit you if she needs to hit anybody.
Yeah. Really, like,
and she might. You gotta watch out.
Yeah, she got a little stab happy, sticking the net.
I would love to see a beer bottle or a can come flying right past Justin's face.
Bill.
Hey honey, get me a beer. Whack! Smacks him up against the face. Beer goes everywhere. That'd be the greatest. That'd be the second greatest thing to ever have on this podcast.
You want to talk
after
about
Joe
a good
LaBarbara.
TikTok?
Yeah. Hey,
that'd be a good TikTok.
If we were talking about Blaine's old lady, that'd probably happen.
Hey, easy.
She
might hear us.
Yeah.
She's going to listen to the podcast, I'm sure, right, Blaine?
Oh yeah. She is actually really supportive. Every time I'm on something, I always tend to talk about her, so she always has to listen to make sure I'm not bad mouthing.
Well, you're screwed tonight, buddy. Hey, Blaine, do you have any more questions for Justin, or do you have any funny stories? Anything we missed because we're about to get into the shotgun round?
Oh, the shotgun round. Yeah, honestly, man, I think he's covered a lot of the stuff that we had to get into about owned a ton of boats, cocky as hell, knows Florida like the back of his hand. Man, we get it. And, I mean, it goes to show. I mean, dude, the dude wins almost. I mean, he's in the – I will text him and be like, what the hell happened if I see his name out of the top 5? I mean, that just goes to say he's got that area on a leash. And, I mean, dude, now what he needs to do is come back to South Carolina and let's try and do this all over again.
Hell to the fucking no.
No,
bro.
we need to get him. We need to get him more well-rounded.
That's it. Got to get him out of Florida, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, no, what I heard you say was both of y'all need to make a trip down to Florida so you can catch some real fish.
Man, I would love to. I would love to. You know what? I'd be there tomorrow if
anytime,
not if I could, but if I wanted to. But I've got some other shit that makes me not really want to.
Come down here, dude. You're more than welcome to stay with me for free. You got a place to stay. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Be careful now. Be careful now.
Yeah.
I come down there. I start cooking for people.
My real question is, if you do go down there and say you catch a 10-pounder, how many Alexes is a 10-pound bass?
Oh, I don't know how much he weighs, which is kind of skewed right now because, he's been very active in the Coast Guard recently, so he's
very
skinny.
non-active in Motel 6s.
Yeah, he's skinny. So let's ask this question in a year after he's been retired for like 8-9 months and see how much weight his
he might fare
little short ass is put on. He can be running around here looking like me and Justin over here, plump, and he ain't ever gonna be handsome, but he'll be plump.
Well, let's get into it, man. Let's see what the shotgun round has to hold.
Justin, this is the shotgun round, and let me tell you something about the shotgun round on Bass and Brews. We'll ask you a question. We don't need a thinking. We don't need a we don't need, any kind of explanation. We need an answer. We're going to ask you a question. They're pretty fucking simple. I'm going to tell you right now. They are simple. We pretty much give you the answers that you need to answer. You just choose one. Now, after you choose it, if we don't agree, we'll chastise you, and maybe you need to go into why you chose a shitty answer. But this is simple. I ask a question, I give you most of the answers, and it's yes or no, or I give you the answer, so you answer it. It's that simple. Do you understand the rules of this game?
Absolutely.
He's gonna fuck this up. He answered that way too. He was way too confident. Question. Crocs or flops?
Flops.
This man done fucked up the shotgun round on the first question. How does the man in Florida wear flip-flops, man? You're sweating so much. You're getting in the gunk. You're all slippery and slidey.
Well, if you can
wait. It's okay, Justin. Flops is always the answer we get from boat guys because they don't ever have to get the feet wet anymore.
Yeah, but I don't even care about that. But what I can't stand is when you got to get in the water or anything in Crocs, sand gets in between your feet and I ain't about all that. I can't stand that. Can't do it. And they're not that comfortable. I don't care what you guys say. You can go fuck yourselves. They are not that comfortable.
Look, I wear my Crocs from the truck to the ramp. I put my boat in the water. I take my Crocs off, and them bitches don't come back on until I need to take the boat.
Go stand on the front deck of a boat for 9 hours, and then you tell me you still want to wear Crocs.
Oh, no, I'm going to be barefoot.
Yeah, okay. Well,
yeah.
Flip-flops are easy. I got permanent flip-flop tans on my feet.
If you try to pull a kayak up out the boat ramp back to your truck in flip-flops that have been wet, your feet's going to be sliding out of them and slipping.
I did that in South Carolina.
Yeah, see, you let this man go on the Broad River in flip-flops, and that's why he failed.
Yeah.
That's why he failed.
Man, but the flip-flop tan is just arrows to point the direction to walk when you've had a few too many beers. I mean, that's what it's for. So
I'm scared to ask you more questions. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No. Hell.
Right. Agreed.
All right. I like that answer. We can live that. You gonna spend more on a rod or a reel?
Rod.
If he would have said reel doing what he does in Florida,
I would have understood.
No, not me. Hell no. He should have said a rod, Bo. You got to have. You can't take a $50 rod and fill that tick in 18 inches of weeds and grass and muck.
But you can't take a $50 rod and flip a 2-ounce weight either.
And you damn sure can't pull the fish out of it.
On the flip side, I took a reel with ceramic gears down there, and after a week of flipping and pitching, my shit was so stripped out and ready to die.
Blaine, you don't have to crank the drag down to the point that the reel has no more clicks left in it.
But yeah, you do.
So I'm a big drag person. I feel like you absolutely have to have it, even flipping. I really, as soon as it sounds, I don't even click my bail over. I set the hook on a fish
wide open,
and I thumb it.
Mm-hmm.
My bail's wide open because I have
that's old school shit right there. That's some old school Florida flipping shit right there. You look, that's
control over the fish.
You just became Randy Blockett's hero.
So I learned from a guy who's just passed away a few years ago, Glenn Brown. He fished the FLW Tour. You can watch videos on him. He's won a bunch of the FLW. He passed away from cancer, but one of the greatest flippers to walk the face of the earth. And I got taught that by him, and that's a big thing that's helped me land a lot of fish, in my opinion. You know, you flipping a mat, you set the hook, you have your drag cinched down like a lot of people think you have to. That fish is pulling hard. It's in the mat still, going through stuff, and lo and behold, it pulls off because there was no give there. But if I flip into a mat, put my thumb there, set the hook, and let my thumb off of it a little bit, and the fish, you know, does what it's going to do. And it has, you know, bad things. Like Blaine had to hand line a 6.5 pounder in for me because tangled up. I flipped in the mat, set the hook, my thumb slipped, my line tangled up, and I literally looked at Blaine. I said, my line's fucked up. And he run to the front, and he's hand lining it in.
It's a good partner.
6.5 pounder hand lined it in. But more times than none, it has positive effects for me.
I don't do that kind of fishing. We ain't got no grass up here. The grass we got up here is in like half an inch of water, and the carp have eaten it all by the summertime. But that is interesting because that is an old school thing. I mean, and we'll talk about Randy Blockett talks about free spooling a spinning reel, like not using the drag. Yeah. But I know you don't use those damn spinning reels down there. But it still stands. But learning how to do that, man, you got to catch and lose a lot of fish to be proficient. You got to have somebody teach you that stuff. But it makes sense, right? And I'm sure that a lot of old school Florida anglers, that's exactly what they do. Yeah. They probably don't. They're free spooling it and letting it roll.
People think that they're flipping, and they're not. They're pitching.
That's right. There's a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Huge difference.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this. If y'all go back and listen to the podcast with Slab Dynasty, we talked about the difference in pitching and flipping.
Yeah. So I can't stand that. You know, you get people that I'm talking to, oh, yeah, I was flipping. And I'm like, you weren't flipping, you were pitching. Flipping, if you ain't got a bow in your line, you ain't doing shit. You're pitching. You know, there's a time and a place to do both. You know, I think if you're around brush and, you know, stuff like that, flipping is what you want to be doing, not pitching. But when you're on, you know, those big hydrilla mats, you know, we're pitching. You know, there's so much area, you don't have time to sit there and to do all that. But even pitching, I still fish free spool. I still set the hook like that. You know, that video that I took with Blaine that he got all on GoPro, you can see every single one of my hook sets. After I set the hook, you can clear as day hear my reel click over it.
Well, not just that. You watch the rod tip, and it starts out doubled over, and then as you release it, it kind of comes back a little bit. I noticed that on every one, and everyone will mistake that for a shitty hook set, and it's not. It's calculated.
Yeah. You watch every fish. Blaine knows because he took them off or grabbed them for me. They were pegged directly on the top of the mouth, buried, and they weren't coming off.
Nope.
Everybody has the notion that you have to absolutely crack a fish in the mouth. You don't have to. I don't swing hard. Like I said, watch that video. You know, it's more of a lean back and
it's a lot like a drop shot hook set. And the whole key is when you slack line them like you want to, when you drop that line down, that 1.5 ounce, 2 ounce weight goes right down into their mouth. And 9 times out of 10, that fish just spits it straight out. Same thing with the drop shot. You let that line go slack, that weight pulls down on the bottom of their mouth. They feel it. They spit it. It is a feel the bite, immediately lean back into it.
And if you haven't done it a whole lot, you know, you don't really know. But if you flip into a mat and you get bit instantly, you don't have time to sit there and do all that shit.
So reeling down and, let him get it.
I took what I got taught and I adapted to it, and that's what I do. You know, it's very, in this day and age, it's very unconventional. But but
Mhm.
it's not. It works. It works for me. I'm really good at it. I'm very efficient with it. I don't lose a lot of fish doing it, so it's just it plays to how I like to do it. And like I said, I have a ton of control over what's going on.
And Seth Fighter has a really good video on hook sets and grass, and he explains it and breaks it down real well too. That's on Wired to Fish.
I know the answer to this next question, but because Alex puts it in here, we have to ask it. In a 3-hour session, 5 2-pounders, a 1 7-pounder.
5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
And oh my God, they'll have to ask it again. I mean, I thought you heard 1 7-pounder and was just going to say it.
Me too.
In a 3-hour session, do you want to catch 5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
1 7-pounder.
There you go. I mean, yeah, we don't even need to talk about that shit.
Yeah,
I mean, God dang. A
10
2-pounder to him, a 2-pounder to you, you're probably like kicking the fish and throwing it and, all kinds of.
I literally catch myself. Like, I flip into the mat and I set the hook and I catch a 2-pounder and I look at it and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing in there?
All right, wacky rig or Texas rig?
Texas rig.
Slow jams or hype music?
Hype music.
Do you listen to music on the water, or is this something you listen to on the way to the water?
I listen to music on the water.
Oh man, shit! See, I don't listen to shit on the water.
I
don't know.
His bullet had a box built.
Well, he said he had a system in it.
Yeah,
like the hot foot.
Blow your fucking eardrums out. A buddy of mine built the box for me. I had 4 crescendo 8.5s in there, 2 super.
Good Lord.
And a 1200 watt amp.
And so when you were coming down the lake, people thought it was a damn wake boat, and then you show up and start fishing. And I'm like, look at this asshole.
No, I don't show up. I blew the doors off of them at fucking 95 miles an hour.
Not anymore. Not anymore. You're in an old man Ranger boat going 72.5.
I blow the doors off of them at 70 now.
All right. Have you ever eaten beaver?
No.
Y'all got beavers down there, don't you? You need to kill one, smoke it just like you would a barbecue Boston butt. Delicious. You don't believe me?
No.
When y'all come up North Carolina, let me find a beaver. I'll feed you one.
I believe you.
Do you eat largemouth bass?
Hell no.
What the fuck is wrong with you? You're from Florida and you don't eat bass?
No.
Why?
Because I just sport fisherman. That's just it.
But you got to take them little 2-pounders out of there, or one day in your day in life, they ain't going to be nothing but 2-pounders left.
Of people who do that right now. I don't need to be one of them. And listen, if it ever came down to I had to eat, like catch fish to eat, sure, yeah, I'll eat them. But I'm not doing that. They're like, bass are like my kids. They're like little,
So you come to my house, and my son, when we catch fish to eat, my son wants them gutted, and then he wants them cooked. He wants the head on them.
Hell
you
no.
come over to my house, we're going to deep fry some bass. You going to eat them?
No.
Then your ass going hungry. Your ass going to be eating your ass going to be eating some hush puppies. That's the only thing you get.
Now, I do, we go out and spec fish.
We call those crappy, Paul.
Yeah, they're
Or if you listen to Paddler's Playbook episode that dropped today, we talked about the sac-a-lait, the sack of milk.
Yeah. So we with the coochie again, we religiously limit out there. We go out and jigging. We just came
with what kind of coochie?
With the coochie.
With a coochie?
Yeah, it's a river.
Oh! I thought you said with the coochie y'all go. I was trying to figure out the hell we was talking about here. You talking about a river? I thought okay. I thought we were going out catching crappie with a coochie. I was trying to figure out who that was.
60, 70 of them, and I eat the hell out of them, but I ain't eating no bass.
Well, you come to my house, your ass gonna eat some bass. That's all I got to tell you.
I've eaten them. We got a property up in Georgia. We got 18 acres over in Rankin, and
Okay.
we got ponds there. You know, when I was a kid, I used to catch them and eat them, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I think they're delicious, and I could flay a bass and flay a crappie and fry them up.
it's a
And
spec.
all these people talk about they could tell the difference. I guarantee you, they couldn't tell no difference in them damn fish.
It's a spec.
Ain't no way.
Hey, if I'm on this podcast, everybody's gonna call him a spec. You know, fucking crappie in here.
No. I know I told you at the beginning this is your podcast, but when you start to say what a something or another is or ain't, I rule the roost. Even Alex knows that. When it comes to vernacular for bass and brews, the jabber hammer rules all, ends all. Look. See, if you want to argue, Justin, this is what happens. Justin goes away if he wants to argue. He goes back to the waiting room. All right, this is the last question now. This is the question that makes or breaks careers on bass and brew. Oh my Lord, who has a Jesus? Got to be Blaine fucking up with something.
You know it's Blaine.
Yeah, it is. Look, why is he so shiny?
LED light bulb and bad skin.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm sitting under 2 LED light bulbs in a 105-degree garage right now with no air. Anyway, I ain't that shiny. Look, Blaine got a big old birthmark on his face, and when he first came on, I didn't see it the last time he was here. And I was like, damn, dude, your wife gave you a hickory, either beat you in the face with a bat or something. Damn, what the hell happened to you? So, it's a birthmark. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, back to the question. This makes or breaks a career. We've had some folks that have answered this question pretty poorly, and some have gone on to still have decent careers in life, and some haven't. So you don't need to think about the answer. You just answer it, right? That's what I told you when we started this.
Yep.
Anglers love sandwiches. It don't matter if you eat them on the water or at the house. We love sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
What are your top 3 sandwich proteins?
Roast beef, bologna, or ham, and
That's some country shit right there.
Man, we don't get a lot of bologna, but you're damn right. We're gonna fry up some bologna. We're gonna cut slits in all 4 corners.
Yeah.
North, south, east, and west. And we're gonna fry it to the end, to the sides are super crispy and it folds up.
My old lady's a fried bologna eating fucking fool.
Oscar Mayer, do y'all get the good bolognas?
I don't know what she buys. I just eat it. And it's not the cheap shit because I'm very like, I don't know, I can eat it, but if I don't have to, I ain't gonna fucking do it, you know?
Yeah, I love good bologna. Those are good, safe answers. Nothing spectacular, nothing exciting, but they are good, safe answers.
Well, what's a bad answer for that?
So we had one guy say cheese. Not as a condiment, not as an additive, just cheese.
Fucking cheese.
We had a semi-famous podcaster say spinach, like not as like that was one of his answers, spinach
as a sandwich protein. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, we've had some bizarre ass shit on here, man. I mean, those are the 2 funny ones. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and that is true. That's funny that you say that. You know, I eat sandwiches like today I ate a sub for breakfast from Subway. We leave Griffin and we went to the river on Panasofsky for like an hour and a half just to look at it. We stopped by the gas station. There's like a little deli gas station right there in the corner. Get a fucking sub for lunch. Like I literally ate 2 subs today. This man
won't eat largemouth bass, but he'll eat a fucking Subway sandwich
from a gas station.
Hey, fuck you guys.
Wait, I might be confused. Did you eat Subway or you ate a sub sandwich from a gas station?
I ate Subway this morning and then I ate
See, that's what I'm saying. This man won't eat largemouth bass, but he'll go to Subway and get a sandwich. To me, that's dumbfounding, man. Like that's just the dumbest shit I have ever heard.
But that's like, it's in a Circle K. So you're either going to eat a Circle K sub, or you can walk right over to the Subway counter there and get a way better sandwich than that.
I would eat the dirt off the Circle K floor before I eat the Subway sandwich. If y'all want a good sub and you have a Sheetz gas station near you, Sheetz gas station subs are absolutely fucking delicious. And when you order a meat sandwich, they lay it on.
Dude,
I'm telling you,
nothing like getting the Sheetz.
But that Sheetz sub is, and it's big. That bitch is like 18 inches.
I learned what Sheetz were whenever I went up to visit my brother in Virginia like 3 weeks ago. Never had them before, but they're good.
Look, man, their sub sandwiches is good.
I ain't never even heard of that shit.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Sheetz, I think Sheetz is I don't know where exactly it is, because when you get into the Charlotte area of North Carolina, it's all Quick Trips, QTs. And QT's a good gas station too. They got some good hot meals there.
We have Wawa. Wawa. That's like our best gas station.
Wawa.
I'm gonna go. I want to go eat somewhere that sounds like a baby.
Hey, they have good sandwiches.
I'm sure it's some kind of baby shat that shit out. I mean, that you're getting guacamole, right? Yeah, right.
The bad part is the name's Wawa, and their mascot is a goose.
The geeses, the Wawa geeses. All right.
Angels.
Hey, Justin, do you have any sponsors, or do you have anybody close to you that you love that you want to shout out? Anything like that?
Just Chris at 44 Tackle. He takes care of me. What started out as me buying stuff from there, spending a ridiculous amount of money, turned into a lifelong friendship. We spend a lot of time together. We play Call of Duty every day, pretty much for the most part. We talk every day, and he takes care of me, obviously, equipment wise. But yeah, just him and myself. I'll shout myself out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck your girlfriend,
like
huh?
Bobby
Your girlfriend don't matter. You don't love her.
Yeah.
No, but that's good. The fishing that you're doing down there, and how I would assume, I'm guessing in the future, you keep doing what you're doing locally, and you're gonna have some people that are gonna approach you for
I've just really reached out to try to network with it. You know what I mean? I'm so busy in my everyday life that it's just not something that I've kind of ventured out to do. And I know at some point I will, when I can fish, the BFLs or the opens, the BASS opens. That's what I want to do. But I haven't gotten there yet. So once I get, my business to where it can function without me, then, I'm going to look towards that. And I'm sure I have no problem with it, but
yeah. And your aspirations, getting up there and going to catch 12 pounds with Blaine at Murray, that's going to help you in the future. So you might hate it, but if you're going to fish the opens, you look at the lakes that they're fishing, and those are going to be some of the turd tournaments that you got to go up there and grind through.
Yeah. What sucks is wrapping your mind around wasting a week of vacation to go up to that fucking shithole. Like, what I mean?
Oh my god!
This man wants to drain Lake Murray.
Oh, dude, so bad.
He wants to drain Lake Murray and like put a parking lot in it.
Yep.
That motherfucker could dry up tomorrow, and it would not hurt my feelings whatsoever. It's just the biggest thing that I look at, and it's not just because I went there once and didn't do good. That place is known for being
tough. Yeah.
Being very tough. So when I think of a week vacation, all these bodies of waters that I've fished, that's the last fucking thing that pops in my mind.
Yeah.
Don't
And
go to
then-
Hartwell then. Just
don't go to
fuck Hartwell. Don't go to
It-
Hartwell.
like
Or Norman. Or
the-
Norman. Don't take your ass to Norman either.
Oh, I know all about that fucking place. And he's, Santee, another big thing. But again, Santee, you're going to spend a week there and fucking knock the whole.
I would be willing to bet if you spend a week at Santee and you fish sun up to sundown at Santee, I guarantee you'd figure that lake out.
Oh yeah,
that lake fits. It fits. You're not chasing stupid shit out there. You're not. Yeah, that you would figure that place out.
I got a lake about 30 minutes from me, Lake Rousseau, that's exactly like Santee. Giant stump field. It's a man-made lake, and it is a huge stump field. It's got a channel in it. Same exact scenario. Period. And
you'd figure that out.
Yeah.
We spent a day there.
Blaine, anybody you want to shout out, dude? Anything new? We didn't get to talk about it much, but y'all, if you're not following Blaine, follow Blaine. He has been tearing them up at night, just fun fishing, but he's also been cashing some checks down there locally on some of their little Wednesday and Tuesday or whatever weeknighters they're having. So follow him. He's been putting up some big bags, and he's just a funny dude to follow as well. And if you're in the South Carolina area, in the Lake Murray area, Blaine, tell us about what you're doing with some kayak stuff, dude.
Man, I help run tournaments. I'm a tournament director with Palmetto State Kayak Bass Fishing. Smaller group still, trying to grow. We got multiple sponsors this year, moving a little bit forward on an app and everything. So, man, I'm doing what I can to help grow that scene, and everything's been pretty good. So outside of that, man, I just want to thank New Canoe that helps me do what I do. And, they're at ICAST this week. And I don't know if y'all have seen, but some pretty cool stuff's been dropping out of ICAST. So that'd be something to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it, Justin. They've Picasso dropped shaky heads with the Willow Vibe blade on the front of it. So I know that doesn't do a whole lot for you down there, but up here, that might change some stuff.
Yeah. I like their Alabama rigs.
Yeah.
They make some pretty neat A-rigs. I run a couple of theirs along with Shane's Baits makes my Alabama rigs. Period.
Yep, that's pretty local to us, so we know all about some Shane's Baits.
Yeah, the Dominator, the Shane's Bait Dominator is my favorite Alabama rig, hands down. Period.
Yeah.
So,
Good deal.
Paul, anything you want to say to wrap us up?
Yeah, man. I mean, thank you for coming on. I'm a little taken aback. Blaine just took over the podcast and you actually said something that has some sustenance to it, and
I did my job.
I feel so proud. I feel like you just broke out of your shell today.
Yeah, man. Well, everybody's got to become an adult eventually, and I just feel like it's kind of part of it,
Get a haircut, and that's the next step.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just kidding. My hair used to be long as hell too. Look, Justin, thank you for coming on, dude. This was awesome. This was fun. I guess it was maybe last week or a week and a half ago that I reached out, and Blaine said, I got somebody. Actually, it was a while ago I reached out to Blaine, and then it was a week and a half or whenever it was ago. I said, all right, dude, we got to get set up. Let's do it. And, he told me who you were, so I started following you on the TikTok and the Instagram, and I did not get with you on Facebook, but I'll do that because it sounds like you put a little more stuff on that. Thank you for coming in and talking and sharing your story and sharing Florida fishing. Like, this is a podcast that if people remember it and the way that we title it, I'm guessing earlier in the year with our listeners and some of the folks that we hang out with, when these Florida tournaments start back up, like, this would be a good time to have this, to kind of revisit this podcast, because there's probably a lot of information here that folks can take down there with them. But I'm glad we did it now, because I'm glad we got connected. You do catch some big fish. what you're doing down there is really interesting, and you're successful. I mean, you see it in your tournament winnings and the fish you're catching. So thank you for coming on and spending time with us. Blaine, thanks for setting it up, buddy. Thanks for being a guest co-host. It's always great to talk to another Carolina boy.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to get this stuff set up where you and I at least sometime fish. And when Justin heads back up this way, we won't subject him to those shitty lakes up there. We'll bring him to my shitty lakes in the Raleigh area.
So really,
actually,
his life.
No, man. Look, I had a buddy that would have had 30 pounds yesterday on Jordan. He lost a couple, but he ended up with over 27 cranking. And Jordan, me and Blaine were talking about this earlier. Jordan Lake is MLF did a lot of justice for it, but because the elites don't come, it just can't hold that many boats. Man, that lake is something else. They're putting up 32, 33 pound bags in the springtime here.
Which,
I mean, there's big fish that you can catch here for sure. I caught that 8.6, I think it was, this past February. So you come up here. I mean, it's tough, and this time of year it can be offshore. It can be 18 foot of water, 15 foot of water. It could be a little bit of shallow in the mornings. It depends, but yeah, we'd love to get you up here. But thank y'all for your time very much. I really appreciate it. We're going to roll this out. Y'all hang out. Don't sign off yet. Look, guys, thank y'all for listening to this episode of Bass and Brews. Go check out Hookset Hoodlums. Got great gear. They do seasonal gear. They got some old school hats back in. Just announced today. Go check them out. You can use code HEELS10, HEELS10 to get your 10% discount. Well, thank you for listening. Till next time. Hey-o.
Hey-o.